Hey everybody, DJ J Brandon here with Pioneer DJ, and I'm excited today. This is a happy hour, as you can see behind me, but not a normal happy hour. It's a happy hour the week before a big show. We're going to be in Atlantic City, New Jersey at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino starting on August 7th for DJX 2023. And what are we going to have there? We're going to have this. This is our brand new PLX-CRSS12. It's an analog digital hybrid turntable. Right now, I've got a regular piece of vinyl on it, and you see I have a tone arm, and it looks like a standard everyday record player, but it's not. And a lot of it comes down to this, the new Magville Clamp. This magnetically attaches to the spindle and the platter, turning it from an analog player, as you see right now, into a digital turntable. Now, what happens is, as I move the tone arm, this is now sending a signal through into Serato DJ Pro or Rekordbox DJ, and this is my new control surface. Up here in the top, the OLED screen lets me know what deck I'm on, what my tempo range is set at, and if I'm in digital or analog mode, simply by pressing this button. I'm in analog mode now because it lights up. By pressing it again, you see the word Serato. This tells me I'm in digital mode. Part of the utility menu is torque adjust. We sort of went out and said, let's make this feel like any of three of the famous turntables of the past, so you can feel right at home on this. Down here at the bottom, you'll notice there's a bank of 4 buttons that are set up for scratch bank or hot cue or sampler. And you see those 2 buttons above it with hot cue and sampler. But this is MIDI mappable, so you can change these to whatever you would like to interact with Serato DJ Pro or Rekordbox DJ. A lot going on here. So at this time, what I want to do is hand this off to Drew Bach, our product planning manager. He's going to go into a lot more detail and deep dive the PLX-CRSS12. It's our first analog digital hybrid turntable. And again, you'll get to see it in full, use it, touch it, whatever you want to do next week if you're going to be in Atlantic City, New Jersey at DJX 2023. Drew, take it away.
Hi, this is Drew Bach, product line manager here at Pioneer DJ USA, and we're here today to talk to you about the PLX-CRSS12. Now, the cross in CRSS12 stands for hybrid, as in digital analog hybrid turntable. This is the world's first turntable that allows you to seamlessly switch between Serato, Rekordbox, or real analog vinyl with a touch of a button. So, right now, the PLX-CRSS12 is set to digital vinyl, specifically Serato mode. And here, you're just playing the real timecode signal from the vinyl. So another really cool feature is that even though it does have a USB cable that comes out of the back, the timecode signal comes out of the RCAs, the same place that your phono signal comes out of. So what that means is that no matter what, you never have an interruption in your timecode signal. You could basically hook these up in a club, even without connecting them to your computer, and they still work as a control tone for Serato or Rekordbox. What's great about the fact that it's spitting out real time code is I can unplug the USB cable from the unit and it's still spitting out real time code, which means that no matter what, I don't have to worry at all about disconnected cables or anything like that, because it's using the same RCA cables that you're already used to for playing timecode vinyl or real vinyl. The PLX-CRSS12 has a number of really useful pad modes as well. Basically, you have hot cue, you have stems, you have sampler, and then in Rekordbox, you have sample scratch, and in Serato, you have scratch bank, which effectively are the same thing in that they load up songs at a touch of a finger. So along with that, stems, you have all the most useful pad modes at your fingertips, regardless of what kind of mixer you're using. It's basically just like having an S11 with you on your turntable. And as I said, these pad modes match up in Serato Rekordbox with Scratch Bank being replaced by Sample Scratch. So basically, regardless of which software you're in, you don't have to make any compromises. Now, up at the top, you have the tempo range button, which lets you go between 8, 16, or 50%. As well, you have the world's first feature called step pitch. Basically, when you hit this, it changes the range to plus or minus 33%. And then it locks the pitch to chromatic step. Until you hit the next step. So if you're using the pitch fader to change the key, you can never hit a sour note. Up at the top, you have this OLED screen, which gives you tempo range, key, which deck you're controlling. You can switch between all 4 decks. So for S11 users, you can actually control the bottom 2 decks as well as the top 2. And then if I hold down this button, it actually puts me into the utility screen where I can adjust the torque between high, mid, and low. So basically more of a classic feel, PLX-1000, or comfortably in the middle. As well, I have LED brightness. And also if I want to do auto standby on or off or factory reset. Magnets, how do they work? How do they work indeed? So, right here we have the Magville Clamp, which is basically the secret sauce in the PLX-CRSS12. You'll notice, drops right on. This allows you to adjust the tension of your record, basically infinite spin backs, or super heavy tension, anything in between. You can even scratch with a slip mat. This also has the added benefit of having dampening material right here that actually makes it so if you're playing real vinyl, it acts basically like a hi-fi clamp. So if you put it down, it'll make it so your feedback is less susceptible to rumble or vibration, basically making it near impervious to feedback. And also, if you're not using it, or you have a spare, you can put it right in the corner, where it's also held down magnetically. Finally, we have a number of other little touches that make the overall package. We got the 3-way brake switch that allows you to adjust your brake speed. We got a motor off button with blinking indicator in case you've accidentally engaged it. We have a pop-up target light with the integrated strobe and target light all in one, integrated cable management, and the power supply has been changed to a switching power supply so there's no rumble or vibrations coming from the power supply internally, making it an incredible sounding turntable. It's not just the best DJ turntable on the market, it's the best sounding turntable on the market for DJs. So yeah, this has been Drew with Pioneer DJ USA. And yeah, really looking forward to seeing you at DJ Expo. Let's do the Q&A.
Hey, that's right. This is a official happy hour bringing in new products for you. You can see I'm obviously not in the studio now. We're home. I've got the dog here. It is happy hour though, so of course I have a little beverage to go with it. We wanted to get the release of this early so that we could do Q&A before we get to DJ Expo. It's important that we try to give you as much information as we can. If you're going to DJ Expo, of course, you're going to end up trying this out. But if you're not going to DJ Expo, we are going to make sure that you get all the information you can. So I'm going to bring Pulse and Drew onto screen if I could, because I think my computer might be having some sync issues. I'm not on the unicorn anymore, Christian. Is it any better?
Well, hey, this is my first time at the helm. I'm on the back end. As you guys notice, PJ's not on the stream today, and they've given me control of everything. And what do? I glitch things right away. So my apologies, but thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Jay. I'm glad to see your unicorn is fixed, and we're all back together here.
Yeah, I'm on the new one now. So
Drew, you hear us as well? We got you.
You with us, Drew?
I can hear you perfectly. Can you
All
hear me?
right.
Awesome.
Then welcome everybody. Hey, Mixmaster G is even on stream. How you doing, buddy? Look, we
Oh,
got a full house. A lot of people watching because obviously this
At
is the hot
royalty.
new thing. We've got a lot of excitement. Jay, you've been watching social and seeing what's been going on with the chat online.
I
What's the
have.
response been from the public here?
It's genuinely been very good. People are very, very excited about this. I think the fact that it's a hybrid and that it opens itself up to the two sides, which even though you could do something similar, you couldn't do it all in one section. So the fact that you can play vinyl, and I know you and I have talked about it, and I just want to throw this idea out there to all the DJs watching. Years ago, I spoke with DJ Toad, and he gave me a great idea about putting some vinyl up during cocktail at a wedding, like actual vinyl, and saying to people, hey, pick a piece and I'll play it. Well, this is the absolute perfect deck for that, because then when I go into running Serato, DJ Pro, or Record Box DJ, I don't have to fumble with anything. I used this the other day. It's literally the push of a button, and I'm on my time code. I'm not changing cables. I'm not adding boxes. I'm not doing anything. It's incredibly responsive, super well balanced. I mean, it's just a beautiful piece of equipment. And I can tell you from the comments that I've seen over the last 72 hours-ish, people are really excited about it. And I'm excited to show it to people next week. We're going to have it, of course, in the DJ booth. Drew, you'll be there kind of coming in and out of the booth. Pulse, you'll be there. I'll be there. And we'll have our other demonstrators. But we're going to have several of these units in the booth, including we will have the Octagon. So you'll have an opportunity to come up and scratch on this. And I think you'll see very quickly that this is really a revolutionary piece of equipment in the market in that it does really everything you could possibly need. The fact that you can scratch with a slip mat, I mean, come on. The days of going to weddings in my market in Southern California where, you can have vinyl warp on any deck because it's 118 degrees out. Well, I guess that issue's now been solved. It's not just a matter of getting something on the unit. The Magville Clamp magnetizes through the spindle into the platter. The entire circuit is set. You're not worried about heat. You're not worried about wind. You're not worried about anything. So amazing piece. But yeah, everyone's been very happy.
Yeah, and I know this kind of hybridizes other systems that have previously existed, names we will not mention, but those require additional connections. That this is your sort of all in one, right? Like
It's
I think
literally a push of a button to go from analog to digital. I mean,
Yeah.
it could not have been my hat's off if I wore a hat to the product planning team. They've really nailed it on this, and it's testament to the fact that we have DJs that are dealing with DJ equipment. This isn't just some manufactured piece. These are actual DJs that want to better their careers and can do it through making pieces of equipment like this. So we're really happy about that.
Let's put Drew up here, and Drew, maybe you can answer the one of the first questions we've had here. Are you able to load a digital song and then use the vinyls to scratch and cue? Because I know you are set up to show us.
Yeah, so basically, it sends out phono signal, or an analog signal. So, like for instance, if you're say playing Serato, like over here, if you want to scratch with digital vinyl, I do that, or
And something for those who might not have noticed what he just did, he did have to change the input selector because you're not coming from USB. You're not drawing that source from the software. You're drawing the source from the phono input. So that's the toggle. That's pretty much as easy as you need to do.
Basically, when I'm over in digital vinyl, if I play it and I'm lifting up you can hear I'm lifting up I can lifting up the needle. But then if I drop it down,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2.
It's playing directly out of the needle. So basically, if I want to just then go back to time code,
just switching the input selector on your mixer back over to the USB because that's obviously where the audio is coming from Serato,
right,
or Record Box. Yeah, awesome. We have another question. What are the technical differences between, pull up on screen, there we go, between onboard signal and the cross 12 compared to HID mode?
So that's where it gets really interesting, because that's something we actually went back and forth on a lot. So with Rev 7, we obviously, use MIDI, which basically like MIDI, HID, take your pick. But on a 7-inch platter, you basically are dealing with a smaller overall rotation. So you basically have effectively like enough resolution to make it feel natural. However, though, when you get to a bigger platter like this, all of a sudden you're basically dealing with a lot more gaps. So with timecode, you effectively have infinite resolution, because it's basically just a sine wave with a noise map for timecode. So just by virtue of that, on a 12-inch platter, it's going to feel just overall more natural and responsive. Like if we did a 7-inch platter, like the Rev 7, honestly, you're not going to feel a difference. But on a 12-inch platter, it does make a serious difference.
Awesome. All right. Well, we've got a couple more questions as they roll. And guys, if you have anything you want to ask, Drew is the man. I've got Jay just off screen here for a second because he was he was doing something, making some rumbling noises while
Oh,
Drew was
sorry.
talking.
No, because I saw what Drew was using.
He's here and he's just floored. I know.
No, and I just wanted to make sure that Drew knew he wasn't alone.
No, he was. Jay was also scratching.
Oh, hold on a second. Let me. I gotta hide my
nominal.
Jay. Hold on one sec.
What
There
happened?
we go.
Nice.
Oh, it gets better.
All right, I'm jealous. I'm gonna have to have a talk with Kyle.
Just wanted to make sure. Yeah, that's you knew. Okay.
So
Yeah.
what was
He knows where
the
they're from.
question about? Oh yeah,
Let me bring that back up. Are all the MIDI buttons mappable? And if I choose to map the motor off for silent cue, will it still make the motor off when pressing it?
Yeah, so basically, pretty much every control is mappable via MIDI, which allows you to do some really cool things. Like, let's see, for instance, I'm first going to make sure that I don't have a MIDI preset loaded. All right. So let's see, go over here. Click, click. So I just open up the Serato MIDI mapping menu, and I just mapped the motor off to my temporary cue. So I have a gated cue that is directly assigned to my motor off. Basically, every control on here is assigned or is MIDI mappable. The only thing that is not sending out MIDI is the platter, because that is just sending out just only raw time code out of the RCAs.
Yeah, and I think that kind of answers this other question from the Real Black Moose. Can you confirm the USB-C passes through MIDI and not audio?
The answer is yes.
Yeah,
I like the build.
So the audio connections from the turntable are connected to the mixer's inputs, and that's where the signal is coming from. Likewise, that's also how you don't need to really do a lot to switch between the digital and analog. So you're not needing those extra USBs. As we've seen through some demonstrator videos, USB-C is only for the controls and the extra information. So you could, Drew, effectively use this as a turntable, just analog turntable without having the USB-C at all, right?
That is correct. We actually tried our hardest to make it so it's one of the best sounding hi-fi turntables in the market, or DJ or otherwise. We went up against some very expensive hi-fi turntables, and so obviously I'm going to be biased, but in my humble opinion, we kind of won hands down.
Here we go. Is each turntable able to go from channel 1 to 4? Now, I'm going to answer the first part of this. For the audio, no. And I know you have a different answer for the MIDI, Drew.
Yes. So basically the audio is not going through channels 1 through 4. The MIDI, however, is. So here's where it gets really cool. So I'm going to, let's see here. I'm going to basically just try my hardest to mix terribly. Please, apologies. So, all right, so.
Now I rock a house party at the drop of a hat. Yeah, I beat a butt down with the loot in the back. A lot of people, they be chosen just to hear me rock the mic. They rock a house party at the drop of a hat. Yeah, I beat a body down with the loot in the back.
All right.
A lot of people, they be chosen just to hear me rock the mic. They be staring
Now,
at the radio
I have the
saying
tracks
all night.
going in sync here.
Eat shrimping.
So now, I just did deck move. So basically, my two decks are together because I'm using the S11. Here's where it gets fun. So if I hit my hot cues over here, but now if I go over to deck 4, the hot cues here are actually independent from dual decks, so you can actually do really cool routines where you can do a dual deck set with your S11, but also be controlling whichever deck you want on the top or bottom independently. So it leads to a ton of creativity that before, even on the S11.
And I'll sort of point out one of the obvious things is that you need to have a mixer that is able to handle the 4 channels. The S11 does if you've got it set up properly, but for those who are trying to figure this out, okay, I control decks 3 and 4, but unless you haven't routed the audio for those channels, yeah. So it really there's a lot of versatility in this, but it depends a little bit on the configuration. Jay, I know you're always loving to come up with these brilliant ideas of how to use these things in ways that we're not thinking of, like out of the box. Have you thought of anything or seen anybody talking about online? What is the creative pouring that we've seen so far?
Right now, we're just getting over the initial wave of being amazed. I'm thinking by the end of the week into next week, we'll start to get especially at DJX 2023, we'll get people that will get their hands on them and try different things. Because I think right now it's people just soaking in. Like nobody's come out and said, I'm going to do this with it. It's not like when the S11 dropped or the Rev 7 and, there were various functionalities that you could use. So I think we've got to wait a little bit to see, but I think people are going to get very creative, especially in the deck assign, because it's instantaneous. I was playing with these a couple of days ago when we shot that first intro for the happy hour, and it's instantaneous. And as you pointed out to Drew, as long as you've got audio set up, especially, with something like the S11 where you're running multi-channel like that, it's pretty crazy. So you're going to see the routines come out as we move forward. But, I'm looking forward to see how people are going to do that. If they're going to queue up a track for an introduction, if they're going to queue up something else, where they want to take it. Because, the marketplace has a lot of creativity of, the unknown sector. It doesn't just mean new people and famous people that are doing stuff. So really excited. I hope we didn't lose our producer there, Drew, but I think
I was
got a
giving
little
you guys
scared.
Some spotlight time, and I'm clicking on things in the back end here.
I'm just chilling here. I saw someone come in earlier, a comment earlier, if I can go back and draw it up, and they seemed pretty
the pinned one.
They seemed pretty impressed. They said the name on the gentleman, if I'm reading this correctly, is
this the one you wanted?
Prigiana. And says they're looking fresh. I know it's not Joni because he was supposed to be here working. So I don't think he'd have the guts to make a comment and show that he had time to work when he's not working. Yeah. So it's Prigiani.
Pigeon.
Yeah. That's it.
Wait. No. All right, I got this. I can make it just like he's here. Hold on. Direct service.
We have
it's
a
the
couple of
vibe
technical
effect.
questions, Drew. We have folks keep comparing this to the handpin, but is the new proprietary Pioneer DJ motor and design correct? This is a new design.
Well, it is, but it isn't. So, elephant's in the room, but one that's pretty easy to confront. The motor itself is a handpin motor. However, though, I guess the best way to think about it is like, if you look at a lot of Porsche designs, they weren't making their motors for many years, but people didn't care because it was an incredible car. What we did do is we completely redid the motor firmware from the ground up. So it has the best pitch stability of any handpin motor ever. On top of that, issues with like, extreme ends of speed plus or minus 50%, those are taken care of. And then last but definitely not least, the control mechanism itself, which is right here, this is 100% our own design, and it's from the same family as the Rev 7. So the control part itself, that's 100% homegrown. The firmware that controls the motor and basically makes it so it has, really good pitch stability, that's homemade. So, and then also the body is completely redesigned by us, and it has a new power supply that's proprietary, designed by us. So yeah, basically all the bits that matter are brand new.
All the cool stuff.
Yeah.
We have another question here. Do we need to calibrate our noise sensitivity if we're just going to use the record with the clamp, no needle?
So honestly, it really depends on how good or bad your mixer is. And I guess what I mean by that is if you have, like a, DJ mixer or like an interface with really, bad signal noise ratio, yeah, you might have to calibrate it because of the self noise of the interface. But in terms of the self noise of the turntable, I don't think I've ever actually calibrated it. I've actually always just let's see, where's my noise? My noise sensitivity is pretty much always somewhere between 60 and 72. Just because after that, basically, if you get right on 72, if you breathe, it's gonna move. But but yeah, other than
But
that,
I think because it's also a digital signal, you don't have any of the noise from the external sources, like no feedback through the needle, no rumble through the motor, right? Because the
that
digital
is correct.
source,
Yeah,
you're losing a lot of that overhead that you would normally have with a regular turntable.
exactly. Like, in a best case scenario in the studio with perfect power, I'm usually set right dead center or, closer to like, negative 24 for my sensitivity. I've never been able to actually set it this low, which means that I can also do better low speed scratching than I've ever been able to on any other product.
Indeed. Another technical question for you here. What's the weight? What
Um,
is the mass? I believe the question is, what is the mass?
so if memory serves, it's about 28 pounds. I don't remember the exact weight, and I do apologize.
I do
It's
recall seeing that it was slightly
about,
lighter than a
it's about
1200.
7 ounces. It's about seven, or it's heavier than the 1200 Mark 7, about the same weight as the 1200 Mark 2, about 7 ounces lighter than the PLX-1000. So if you want to assemble all those like numbers into a Venn diagram, I think we got you covered.
Sorry, I dropped off there for half a second. I'm not sure what happened, but um, do you have another question? It is, when using a step pitch, does it turn off the key lock automatically? That's a good one.
It does not. Um, what we found that like even though it's even though it makes sense in theory to turn off key lock, a lot of times when you have the turntable do something that you wouldn't necessarily want to do otherwise, it can cause like sync issues. And by that I mean, like, let's say for instance you were to turn on step pitch, it turned off, it turned off key lock. But then you were to go over to your computer, then turn it on, turn it off, you could actually then get like a weird sort of flip-flop effect where it would activate a function or deactivate a function opposite of what you intended. Especially when you have a mixer like the S11, which is also a MIDI controller where you can do things like that as well.
Gotcha. We have another couple of questions. Excellent hybrid. Oh,
I think we've lost our fearless host. All right, so excellent hybrid mixer pulse. What was that?
sorry, I'm back. Yeah, no, the MIDI connection is to the mixer of the computer. It is to the computer direct by USB-C.
Well, actually, though, you it's actually technically both because I do have mine currently connected to the hub of the S11. So I guess, whatever suits your fancy.
Yes, I guess. Why does that keep coming up? All right, let's go back over here. Do the turntables send the pitch, send the BPM to Serato through USB, such as the Rev 7? No, that's because it's the DVS signal, right?
Exactly. Serato or Rekordbox will send the BPM and current key to the turntable. But if you're playing analog vinyl, normal rules apply in terms of like it doesn't do auto BPM on the turntable. It does it on the mixer if you have one, but yeah.
We have another question here. It's what cables comes with the turntable? What's in the box, Drew?
So it comes with RCAs with the ground cable, USB-C cable, and then even though it does not come with a cartridge, what does come with is this absolutely gorgeous, blacked out, murdered out Pioneer DJ head shell.
Yeah, and for those who hadn't noticed, Drew, can you give us a top down again? Because that view of the black, it's hard to see. Well, I'll have to pull up another image of it.
Oh, here.
I was going to say the logos and everything. If you guys haven't seen the press photos, everything on the right up by his thumb. Let me go full screen with Drew. Hold on, kick us out.
Yep. So right here, you can see that it's a reflective paint, so disappears until you just catch that glint of light, and there you go. By the way, I forgot to put up the my other favorite feature, the dual target light. I don't know why, it's just nerdy as heck. All right. See, all right, so, all right. Sorry, I was actually looking at YouTube questions because I'm so used to, you being like on, they're reading.
Oh, I've got behind the scenes here pulling up all the.
Yeah, so the Magville Clamp, it's not battery powered. It's just magnetic. Basically, the way it works is
Use some rare earth magnets in there.
Yeah, so.
I want to see someone put like a menu for a restaurant or something on there, and just be like scratching. Yeah, I'll take a wicka restaurant, wicka, and then they'll pull it off. And
that's the thing. Like you can literally use anything you want as material for this. I mean, you can use a slip mat. Like
just like you just showed it with just by itself.
Actually, all right, this is gonna be fun.
Is that a napkin?
Amazon box. All right, no, it's a piece of styrofoam.
Drew, have you
Those are
shown
great.
it scratching with just a slip mat?
Uh,
Yes.
not today.
You just had it on right there, didn't you?
No, but he didn't scratch with. He took the slip mat off.
Oh,
Which, by the way, I gotta say that like scratching with a slip mat is actually like better feeling than I think you could ever imagine. It feels really good. So if you get these, please try it. It's amazing.
By the way, we got to give a shout out. Analyzes in the chat.
Yo, Anna,
Yeah.
what's up?
I can't wait to see her on these because it's going to be amazing.
Well, she was actually one of the DJs who was involved with the design.
Nice.
I mean,
Nice.
you know, like,
But I mean, she smokes decks. Like, I cannot
oh,
wait
absolutely.
to see what she's coming up with on
I mean,
these. Like, just insane.
But I mean, it's actually worth like, you know, kind of taking a moment to talk about this because, you know, there's like a million companies, us included, obviously, you know, talk about like, you know, listening to DJs, but you know, what does that mean? We sat down with so many DJs and we didn't just interview them, but we actually did sketches with them. And what you end up seeing is basically a product that is the sum of so many of these DJs' input. You know, and there was a lot of commonalities. Like, you know, I think like 85% of DJs, you know, were wanting buttons right here. You know, the shape and layout was, you know, different, but that was like a common thing. You know, screens somewhere in this general vicinity. You know, but then there were like, you know, some standout features as well. Like, you know, for instance, step pitch. That was something that one of the DJs, Buck Rogers, actually asked for. You know, so when we say that, you know, we listen to DJs, this is a DJ's turntable that was created with an incredibly amazing, talented group of DJs that, you know, we owe a massive like thank you to.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not on the product side the way that, you know, you gentlemen might be, but I end up talking to a lot of these DJs, and it's amazing how sincerely nice they are about the gear and when they see it and what they've contributed to, because they're excited because it's only going to help their career out. It's only going to help their job. You know, there are times you look at DJ gear and think, you know, you're redesigning a shovel and somebody has to dig a hole. Well, if somebody only digs holes all day, let me tell you, you need the best shovel you can get. And it works really well. There's one question I'm going to jump in and answer about, are the Magville clamps stay in place even when they're not on the platter in a flight case vertically? You can leave them on. If you looked at the beginning of our happy hour, I had that sitting at almost a 90-degree angle with the clamp on it, and the clamp stays on it. I think at one point I carried it across the room sideways at a full 90-degree, and the clamp stays right there. So, you know, when you see this come in as a case, the clamp is not on the deck. It's actually in a slotted area off to the side. It's where you would see the tone arm weight, the head shell. That's all. You can actually
see the pin best on Drew's left deck there, up on the beside the 4. There's that the little post that's sticking up beside the tone arm base. Yeah, that's where the clamp gets stored.
Yeah, and because of the magnetic power of it, it actually stays there.
What I'm doing right now is I'm actually lifting up the clamp because you can actually see that the portion that is also controls tension adjust is actually being lifted up with the clamp when I lift it up, so it stays in place. And then this section up here, you know, if you want to have spares or whatever, you know, it's also magnetic. So not only is it really not going anywhere, but you can even carry a spare if you want. And we are going to sell those, by the way, as replacements.
Awesome.
And they're inexpensive too. My understanding is that it's what, $60 for a pair?
Yeah.
PJ has just said he had to ship a pair in a flight case, and he tested if the Magville clamp will come off. It stayed in place, both the platter and holder. after a few flips of the case. So he's given us the the rough it up report here. He's been um, abuse testing, I guess, is the best way.
I mean, it's sharing my own case story even. Um, so in the really early stages of prototypes, basically I was, having, I didn't have a set at home and a set at the office, and we had a set, so I had my two-wheel cart and the parking garage a block and a half away, and my flight cases, and I was literally bringing it back and forth in flight cases, down a couple blocks, multiple times a week for a few months. And yeah, the Magville clamp never moved. Regardless of whether or not I had it under the foam pad or over here.
It's good to hear. But if we need, hey, replacements are available.
Yeah.
We have another technical question. How does it compare to Reloop RP8000 Mark II? Is it a different beast or functionality? Is the difference, I guess.
Well, basically the only thing they share in common is they, have the same, handpin motor, and they both send MIDI. However, though, other than that, we have completely different firmware than they do for their motor control. So, I'm not meaning to, I'm not saying that theirs is worse. Let's just say different, but I would absolutely take a shootout, and I say that also really liking the guys at Reloop. Please don't kill me.
Hey, we have love for the industry.
Oh, absolutely. Like, the folks at Reloop are awesome, and but I think that we kind of nailed it with this one. The other thing actually about the Reloop versus this, if we're kind of talking about differences in philosophy, that has a row of buttons along the bottom, which is not, it's not a bad thing. But in the case of the Cross 12, what we did was made a section that kind of doesn't get in your way at all. Every piece here is actually recessed by itself. So there's actually a little island here, which actually I just realized that it's kind of covered up by the video overlay. So, okay, thank you. Basically, each section is recessed by itself. So what that means is if I accidentally rest my hand here, just not thinking, unless I press my hands into the space, I'm not going to accidentally trigger anything. The buttons are big enough to hammer on, but they're small enough to just kind of disappear. And then the really cool part about it is, let's say that I disconnect it, it blacks out. So basically it looks just like a dope analog turntable. If I put it right here, in an analog mode, the only thing that you see here is the tempo range. So yeah, the buttons don't take away from the focus of a turntable if you're using it strictly as an analog turntable, which also actually is a nice segue for the people who are talking about wishing that it were, not battle style. Other than the buttons, there's nothing that is kind of, battle style, I guess you could say. And if you're playing analog vinyl, considering the fact that the screen, the only thing that tells you is your current pitch range, is completely readable, as an analog turntable from both ways. So. Oh. Whoa, Jared. It's like I'm seeing you multiple times. Am I alone here?
No, sorry. Were you not hearing me? Was I muted while I was off stage?
You were muted.
Oh boy. See, that's the thing. I'm still learning. Now, we'll bring Jay back in just in case he has anything to say too. I was just saying I would use this in regular orientation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you bring that up, Pulse, because I'd like to let everyone know when you see these at the DJX 2023 next week at the beautiful Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City, New Jersey, you will have that exact opportunity because we will have these in battle and normal orientation. So you'll get to actually try them in both setups to see which setup works best for you. So there'll be stations with battle, and there'll be a station where they'll be set up as a standard turntable. And it'll allow you to not only see what they're like, but to see what the button orientation works like for you. So,
Well, speaking of the buttons, I know Drew's doing a technical thing here, but he can answer a question. Is the start stop button look new? Is the same feel? The start button look new? It looks new. So yes, it is a new button. Is it the same look and feel as the PLX-1000, or more like that of a CDJ?
It's basically the same feel as the PLX-1000. It's a lot closer to like a classic feel, like a 1200. So yeah,
I found it to be very, very soft. And
It's got a lot more
Does that make
travel than a
sense?
CDJ, right?
Yeah, but when you push it, it's really light to get it going. And it is very similar to PLX 1000, but it's a different feel for me. I'm not on PLX 1000s all the time, and I'm usually on controllers, whether it's an XZ or a Rev 7 or something. But man, when you push it, there's like a satisfaction. It's one of those type buttons where it just feels good to push the button on. So I think you'll see very quickly it's a really good feel. Like really good feel. We should probably mention, because some people are mentioning that they've ordered this and it's on a wait list. That's because it won't be available till September.
I think that comment was actually regarding CDJ 3000s. I did answer that Facebook question. He's got some on order. Yes.
I answered one too, and the page disappeared. So sometimes things aren't always what they look like.
Like with all of our gear over the last little bit, guys, we are trying to get all of those back orders fulfilled. We know that there's lots of people still waiting on products, and then you'll see another product come out, like the Flex 10 was launched, and everyone's like, well, how come that's available? Guys, that was planned during the pandemic. We already knew what the shortages were when we started making that one. Likewise, the Cross 12 will be coming out in good quantities, but CJ 3000s, which of course suffered a hit because of things like the fire in Japan pre-pandemic that put some of the DAC chips on short supply, and then silicon shortages through the pandemic, manufacturing slowdowns, all these other things compounded, and of course the CJ 3000s are still on a heavy back order. But I have it on good authority that there's a lot coming ashore this fall, and hopefully you guys, if you've got an order in, they're getting fulfilled, and you'll be able to pick some up and get to those quickly.
And I mean, the majority of DJs that we contend with are professionals, whether they're doing backyard parties, nightclubs, EDC stages.
Yeah.
None of them, they're all in the same spot as us. They want to be able to go out, do what they want to do. And that's what we want. We want them to be able to do what they do. And we want them to have the gear. It's not an issue of we don't want you to have it. You know, so
No,
we're
of
doing
course.
our best to get it in your hands, because that's by definition what a manufacturer does. They make stuff, they sell it to you, and then they make more stuff. I mean, it's basic principle of business. We of course want you to have this equipment. And
Absolutely.
you know, we've never once sat back in a meeting and said, let's make them wait. No.
All of my cupcakes are going to go stale before anyone can have them.
Yeah, no. I mean, PJ is always talking like that, but that's him. I mean, he's not here to defend himself.
True.
Stop breaking record box.
You had a question, or are you going to make another comment, or what? I
was going to make another comment, but let's do this one really quick because all right. So
sure.
Start speed, non-adjustable. It's fast, but it's also dependent on the it's basically dependent on the torque setting. If you have a higher torque versus lower torque setting, or for that matter, if you've adjusted the tension, you can actually have a little bit faster or slower speed. However, though, the start stop, you know, that is, let's see here.
Well, you've got three speeds on the brake on the front, right?
Yep. So 1, 2.
A lot of people, they be chosen just to hear me rock the mic. They be staring.
Then finally, my favorite.
Radio staying up all night.
Power off.
Eat shrimp, but with my legs, come just got arrested at the Mardi Gras.
We call that end of the wedding reception.
Yep.
I turned the brake all the way up.
Good night,
and hit-
everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
The homie from the DJ lab actually asked a good question that I want to hit head on.
Where is this? What platform is it on? I'm looking for it in the
It
chat.
was on the YouTubes.
On
I
the
was gonna say, he's
tubes.
getting direct messages between Candy Crush.
No, it's the YouTubes.
It's got the secret feed. I didn't see it. Hit us.
By the way,
Okay.
PJ has about 75 lightsabers.
All right.
Two
So,
artist digs.
basically the SL1200, like on paper, has a, like in their spec book, it has a wow and flutter that's measured at 0.1 or 0.01. I don't know what planet that was on, but please, for the love of God, just measure your SL1200. It's not anywhere near that, even if it's brand new. But I actually just looked up a test of the 1200 Gs versus the 1200 MK2 on Audio Karma. The 1200 MK2 was 0.06, and the 1200 G was somehow 0.32. So I don't know what the heck happened with that. Anyway, I just did a quick wound flare measurement myself, and 0.06. So
It's all washed out, but that's if you want to test it
We'll
yourself,
take
head
your
on down
word
to
for
GC.
according to the apparently very well maintained sample that was tested against the 1200G on the Audio Karma forums, we are at least as good as them.
Yeah,
We're really geeking out today.
we've got a couple more questions, and then we're coming to the end of our happy hour here. But of course, somebody says, "Well, what's the point of the tone arm?" And my answer to that one is to play a record.
Yeah.
That's how you get the analog audio into your mixer.
Drew,
Yeah.
did you mention about the clamp helping with
Yeah.
warped vinyl?
Yeah, like the clamp can actually unwarp vinyl even if you have like severely warped vinyl, because the tension can actually take a convex record, make it back more towards concave and vice versa.
Depending
But
which way you're
Yeah.
bending, obviously.
that said, though, as far as the tone arm question goes, when I was staying up way too late and reading internet comments, there was actually one that really kind of got my goat, if only because the person that said it, I was kind of like, really, you? And it was funny because I was actually talking to another very big name DJ this morning about how silly that was. And I'm sorry to be like so, throwing shade, but whatever. But like when we talked to DJs about this, there were so many directions that we could have gone, because we started out with a motor prototype.
Mhm.
What it was going to go into, like what it was going to be when it grew up, we had no idea. We just had a motor prototype that we tested with DJs. And the consistent thing that they told us was that when you have digital solutions that, like, basically you have either digital solutions that like, are battery powered, like phase, which are great, like, because you can bring them anywhere. But on the other hand, they have the drawbacks of, like, for instance, battery power, or potentially like, like RF interference, whatever. And also like, software connectivity, or then, like other solutions on the market where like if you are a vinyl DJ, you have to choose between either putting those up or putting up your turntables. Like if you are doing a DJ set and then you're like, oh man, I really would love to do a vinyl set, suddenly you're having to take gear down just to put it back up. And most of us don't have the space for two setups. I don't. And
Yeah.
so by this, it's like, we wanted to make a good turntable for DJs. And this is like really and truly a love letter to vinyl, because, it's not something where we're saying it's vinyl like, you are using vinyl. Whatever record you want to use, as your control medium, you can use it. If you want to have a record on here and switch mid-set between controlling Serato with the vinyl and literally put the needle on and play vinyl, you can, you know, like not everything has to be for everyone, but like this, you know, like this is truly a love letter to vinyl and the art of vinyl DJing, you know. And frankly, like if you've never DJ with vinyl, cool. Like you know, this is actually a good opportunity for you to buy it too if you want, you know, motorized platters but aren't really into vinyl, because guess what, you might actually start collecting vinyl as well.
There's a slippery and expensive slope. And speaking of cost,
Yeah,
Carlos says, "What's the price? Tell us what the price is, Johnny."
it is $13.99 USD.
Which is like 11
That's
bajillion
true.
Canadian freedom
That's right.
dollars, Canadian ruples.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Canadian is-
1999 Canadian, I think is the retail. I was just looking, which, you know, all things considered, not terrible if you're trying to kit yourself out with all of the options. It's you're earning up just a little bit more. And I know I watched Mojax's video, and he was talking about the value proposition of it. And he was saying, you know, it's a really actually economical option for DJs to, if they're looking to get into a system that has all of these options. That it's only a few American dollars more than if you're going with a traditional setup, turntables, and then the digital option.
So actually, one thing. So he referenced the 1200 Mark 7 in that video. I would very happily take the Pepsi taste test audio wise and performance wise with the SL 1200 GR, which is the super high end version of the 1200 that they sell, which is currently $1,800. So yeah, it's not cheap, but again, it is the best DJ turntable on the market, bar none, and that's before you even get to the digital portion.
Right.
Right.
And it's everything you're getting. So
Yeah.
I think, are we going to wrap it up here? We've got some other
I've
stuff
just
going
put out a
on, or-
last call for questions, but I've got one that I know, Drew, you can help address, because the turntable has a grounded IEC cable. I've seen people mentioning, well, you know, why do we have a grounding pin? And my my answer for that was, well, because of the traditionalists who don't know any better, and that's what they've always done. They've always had to run a grounding cable to their mixer. Maybe you want to touch on the technical side of that one.
Yeah. So, as far as grounding goes, I don't know if you've ever done a like one of the internal ground modifications on your turntables, like on an SL.
Yeah, switch it out and add a grounded IEC to it.
Yeah, or
a ground cable. Yeah.
And the thing is, like, the internal grounding mod is great. It works really well until it doesn't. Because the problem is, like, when you do get like a weird kind of like, you know, common ground, or like just a weird grounding issue, like, and it's internally grounded, you can't get out of that situation.
Yeah.
But, you know, by having a ground cable, you know, you can get away with, you know, like, you're actually pretty good. Now, here's actually
to make a common ground, and I think there's a lot of people who don't understand that there is such a thing as a common ground, and you can end up with ground loops and other things. There's a lot of technical information online if you're looking for details on all that really in-depth engineering stuff. But
now, actually, though, if I can just do something really quick. So I just switched it over to Phono.
Okay.
So here's the thing. I actually don't have a ground cable hooked up because basically I've been using the timecode signal. So, like, if I really crank up my mixer, like, I can hear a tiny little bit of ground hum if I crank it literally up to the maximum level that I can get.
The maximum gain, like, on that channel.
Yeah. Or no, actually, like, literally, like, I have like
with the trim turned up all the way.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The gain on the
yeah.
Like, but other than that, like,
yeah, no issues with it not grounded to your mixer.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, there will be a bit of noise, but it's so much lower than, you know, any turntable, you know, on the market that also uses a ground cable that, yes, please use a ground cable. But on the other hand, though, the audio performance is as such that we're more like, maybe we're trying to save you from yourselves.
Yeah. And we'll take one last question here. Steve is just I can. Oops, sorry, that was not the one I wanted. Another one came in right as I click. Right as I click. Right. Right
Not
as I
anymore.
click.
Yeah, there. I was going to say we should take this question.
Is it HID? If you know, and the reason I clicked on this one again is because we have brought this up a couple times, but I think this will be one of those FAQs that's going to last for a couple of years while people are trying to understand the product. Is it HID if you run USB only and not RCA? Any issues running a USB hub with them? So 2 questions there.
All right. So number one, it's not HID, it's MIDI. Like MIDI and HID are like, HID is not better than MIDI for the end user. It's, honestly only better for the developer. So like, and not only that, but like, unless you're like dealing like with really high resolution messages, there's effectively zero advantage. So and I'm only saying that because like, basically I don't want you to think that like we're, giving you, like some sort of lesser messaging, but that said, it is only MIDI out of the USB. RCA is just straight audio. And as far as a hub goes, as Pulse will tell you, I have more hubs than is possibly healthy for any human being. Like to the point where like, when he was down here, I didn't give him a hub, but I gave him like a 16-foot, like, premium USB-C cable, because I was like, I like this and you should have it too. And yeah,
It's true. I've got it somewhere.
Exactly, and I've never had a problem with any of the USB hubs I've used, and I've been testing these now for like the better part of, like a year.
Cool.
Yeah, with conventional stuff, I do know that there are some hubs. Oh my God, the name's just gone out of my head. Some USB hubs with the Via chipset that can have some issues with some of our products. That's one of the things that's come across our desk in tech support from time to time. Via chipsets can cause audio and HID issues. So if you do run a hub and you have problems, just try connecting directly. But you know what? It's going to be a different situation depending on the computer you're using as well. Different USB host chipsets can be the difference between make it and break it, right?
And we're going to be doing some more video next week, I believe, from DJX. So we'll probably float that up on. It'll probably end up on Instagram Reels. It will probably make YouTube. Might hit Facebook. We'll have other information, because I think you're right, Pulse. As we move forward with something that's so different in the marketplace, we want to make sure that everyone's really clear about what's going on with it and not leave people to wonder, oh, so I use USB and not RCA. It's like, no, RCA for time code, USB for MIDI. Oh, but I want to run it like this. And I don't want to say the names, but we'll get exact names. And I just want to make sure people are clear so they don't end up doing something, plugging it in the wrong way, and then going, it doesn't work. And we've run into that, and it's an educational process. So we'll definitely be spending time next week. I think that's probably going to do it for us, in which case, want to appreciate and thank all of you for coming through. A lot of talk is about DJX 2023. It is live. Obviously, we're here on Thursday, and as of Sunday, we're all going to be traveling to Philly, probably to then go to Atlantic City. So as of next week, we'll be live with this. If you are going to the show, you'll see it. If you're not going, but you know someone that is, ask them to come by and ask some questions. It wouldn't be the first time we've had someone FaceTime us in the DJ booth with questions. So you're certainly going to get a lot of options. You can go to any of our social media. Luckily, they're all the same address, at Pioneer DJ USA.
And
Ask
actually,
anything you want. Oh, go ahead, Drew.
It's super quick. So earlier, DJ Lab asked if we would be sending these to 12-inch skins for skinning. The answer is yes, but also, if you go to the 12-inch skins website right now, they already have custom control discs, picture discs up for sale. So if you go to DJ Expo, and you pre-order these, you can also cop yourself, a set of like custom picture discs in advance to go with your purchase.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, when you see them in person, I think it's it reminds me almost of like the Opus, the difference between a picture and a video and in person.
Oh yeah,
It's and I had people that were, and this is why I have so much love and respect for the community that we're in. I had people coming up going, dude, I flamed you on this thing online and this is gorgeous. Like, so I think you'll see when you get to this, it makes a statement. I mean, I'm not the biggest murdered out fan on things, but that's really what it is. It's black on black on black. It's gorgeous. And you're going to see very quickly that, if you were in the market for turntables, but were concerned with adding additional items to do your job, that's been taken away. This is the all-in-one turntable, record player, DVS machine. And we'll have them on display next week. We'll have more videos and more information on them as we go. Again, check us out on any of our social media channels at Pioneer DJ USA. Until then, I want to thank Product Planning Manager Drew Bach. Of course, our trusty dusty producer today, because PJ couldn't come on the show. He was so busy, but that's okay. We love PJ with his 75 lightsabers. Again, thank Pulse for stepping in on that. Of course, back in the studio, JP
taking a
running
dig.
the helm. Just I do what I do. It's the strength of the cells. Oh, this has alcohol in it? I thought this was the cells. Okay.
And C.
My hand was overhead. Yeah.
The problem
Thanks,
is
everybody.
that
Stay well, stay safe. We will
PJ
see
has
you
been
next
training
week.
with lightsabers. Just saying.
Well, this is true. Yeah. So as long as I
Love
don't
you,
get in
PJ.
the
We'll
toy
see you in
store,
Atlantic
I
City.
won't get hit.
We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.
Peace.